Çok kıymetli konuklarımız, katılımcılarımız, sempozyumun ikinci gününde 8. oturuma hoş geldiniz. Bu oturumda Makedonya'dan, Romanya'dan, Hindistan'dan, Transilvanya'dan konuklarımız olacak. Etnografik olarak önemli kadın figürlerinin yanı sıra etnomüzikoloji alanında öne çıkan kadın araştırmacılar, bugün bir önceki oturumda da konu edilen tekçi kadınlardan bahseden bir de sunumumuz var. Onu da dinleyeceğiz. Hatta oturum sonrası yer alacak performanslarda da bir saha çalışmasından kayıt altına alınan tekçi kadınlar olacak. Or dear guests or participants, welcome to the 8th session on the second day of the symposium. In this session, we will have guests from Macedonia, Romania, Slovenia, and India. In addition to etnographically important female figures, we will listen lots of presentation talk about prominent women researchers in the field of ethnomusicology and also woman performer in a traditional area. And the first presenter from Macedonia, Velika Stojkova-Šalamgovska, ilk sunum yapacak konuğumuz Makedonya'dan Velika. Kendisini önce İngilizce tanıtmak, sonra Türkçe tanıtmak isterim sizlere. Velika is an ethnomusicologist and researcher at the Institute for Folklore at in Skopje, Macedonia. She received her PhD. I'm so sorry. Velika, could you close your microphone? No. Okay, thank you very much. Yes, her research and publications focus on transitional process of Macedonian traditional music in sociological and anthropological context. As an UNESCO International Cultural Heritage Facilitator, her research is also connected with the treatment of traditional music and dance as an intangible cultural heritage. Her papers have been published in regional and international journals such as Musicology and Yearbook of Traditional Music. Velika, Makedonya'nın Üsküp kentinde Marko Çepenkov Folklor Enstitüsü'nde bir etnomüzikolog ve araştırmacı. Doktorasını etnomüzikoloji alanında Üsküp'teki Kiril ve Metodist Üniversitesi'nde yapmış. Araştırmaları ve yayınları geleneksel Makedonya müziğinin sosyolojik ve antropolojik bağlamlarda incelenmesi ve geçiş süreçlerine odaklanan çalışmaları var bu noktada. UNESCO'nun taşınamaz, somut olmayan kültürel miras kısmında yer alıyor. Aynı zamanda Makedonya'daki temsilcisi ve geleneksel müzik ve dansın somut olmayan bir kültürel miras olarak ele alınmasıyla bağlantılı çalışmaları var Makedonya'da. Birçok makalesi de hem uluslararası hem yerel kitap veya dergilerde basılmış. Bunlardan en bilinen Müzikoloji ve Yearbook of Traditional Music dergileri. Bize bugün Velika geleneksel toplumda kadın roman müzisyen olmak başının hikayesi şeklinde bir sunum yapacak. The first presenter, Velika, will make a presentation in title of Being a Single Female Roman Musician in a Traditional Society, Baysas Story, I'm so sorry, pronunciation, and please, Velika.
Thank you, Özlem, and I would like to thank you for your invitation to participate in this meeting and to congratulate you for doing such an excellent work in these difficult times and for being so active, so for keeping also us so active and still close together. Thank you very much for organizing this very important symposium for the very important topics in nowadays. So I will start with sharing the presentation. With my PowerPoint. I hope it will be okay. Yes. So this is the title of my presentation, and I'm going to talk about Baisa. That is Baisa Rifovskaya. I have to mention to you that she is also my very good friend and a very good colleague. And first, as an introduction about the topic and why Baisa is, I think, worth in explaining and talking about her and about her role in Macedonian society and also broader than Macedonia, is the role of women and musical instruments here, because I'm not going to talk about women and music in general, like women and singing, but more women and musical instruments, because Baisa is actually a player of musical instruments. She doesn't sing at all. So in many societies, as we know, musical roles are divided along gender lines, like women sing and men play. And especially in traditional societies such as Macedonia and the broader Balkan countries this division is very much vivid. I have been a witness of this kind of division, not just among women sing and men play, but once when I was on a field work and I had a woman that playing an instruments, and then the males from that house didn't want to speak with me because I was speaking with the woman who is playing an instrument. So these taboo situations are still existing in the rural areas, specifically in our traditional societies. Of course, men also sing and women sometimes play, but unlike men, women play do so in context of different sexual and social marginality. And we know that musical instruments are defined here simply as material objects outside the body, perhaps sometimes even connected to the body, and they are used in different kinds of performances of music, dance, rituals, and ceremony. However, the cultural defined or to accompany such performances. So in historical context, the connections between women and playing instruments, according to Koskov, like this, there were context of the court, the context of courtship, ritual context, and the context of everyday life involving musical performance, accompanying like food preparations, childcare, or different types of mental performance. Like we all know that is some like dire or deaf playing in these different ritual contexts. So the story of Baisa is different, and I'm talking about this. This introduction was about the musical instruments. Is because Baisa is a musical instrumentalist. As you can see, this picture of her, she's playing on tap, which is still a huge taboo in the Macedonian society. But let me share with you the slide where I explain her background and why is it so important. So Baisa is also, she is a female, but she is also a member of the Romani Roma community. She is ethnic Roma. And it is very interesting to tell her story, how she managed to accomplish this security and social security and even permanent job and very high, and she has a very important role in Macedonian society, and how she managed to to accomplish all of that, but how it also influenced her personal life and her personal story. So she started, she's born in, let me go the next slide. She's born in 1978 in Kočani. That is a smaller town in eastern part of Macedonia. But she lived until the age of 4 in one town in eastern part of Macedonia, in Maleševo, Pijanec, and Osogovo, that is the mountainous part of the eastern part of Macedonia. And she lived in a closed community at the beginning of her life, only with her grandmother and her mother. And later, when her mother married, she lived with her stepfather and her stepbrother. At the age of 14, she left her town and entered in the musical high school in Štip, which is the major city in Eastern Macedonia. And she started to learn she started to see and to be introduced to different types of classical instruments, unlike her childhood where she listened only to Macedonian traditional instruments. So she was in touch with musical instruments since she was 2, according to her mother. And she was her first instrument was mandolina, a small tambourine, on which she learned how to play. But the first time that she actually saw violin and piano and saxophone and clarinet was at the age of 14, when she enrolled musical high school in Štip. She finished that, and in 1992 she entered Musical Academy, Faculty of Music Art in Skopje, Department of Theory of Music, and later on, already in the second year of her undergraduate studies, she started to work with Professor Dragan Dautovski, who was the leader of the Department of Traditional Folk Instruments. So she started to learn the traditional instrument. That story is also very interesting, how she actually, for the first year of her study in Skopje, she was hiding behind the door of Professor Dautovski and listening to all the traditional instruments that were playing inside. And for her, and according to her in the interview that we she said that when she was listening to those sounds and when she was sneaking inside the cabinet to see all the instruments, that was like she was coming home. That was her feeling of I'm at home. So at the age of 19, she met Dragan Dautovski and started to work with him. And 3 years later, she was part of his quartet, Dragan Dautovski Quartet, which is a famous quartet in Southeastern Europe, but also in the world, for world music style, performing using only Macedonian traditional instruments and world traditional instruments. I'm sorry. So Baisa became a member of that quartet, and she already started to perform on world stages, which was a huge experience for her as a still very young girl. Later on, she developed a career collaborating not just with Dragan Dautovski, but with many musicians in the region, in all and in the world, which you can see by her biography, which is online. You can Google it and find it. And she started to work in a musical high school in Skopje as a teacher of traditional music instruments. There she created a very good class of musicians that are still performing in different ensembles of folk dances, music and dances in Macedonia, and also have their own groups. So she influenced a lot of musicians by working there as a teacher. And since 2013, she left the position in high school, and she is now a member of the orchestra of the National Ensemble for Folk Dances of Macedonia, Tanec. And for a short period, also she was leader of the orchestra of traditional instruments in Tanec. But Baisa is also a composer. She has composed music for ballet, many traditional dances. She has participated in many CDs, many released DVDs, concerts on huge world festivals. She has also released two of her personal as an author CDs. One is about with Macedonian Chaldean music, and the other one is also toward the east, traditional music from Eastern Macedonia. That is where she originates from, her roots. And she has also been a teacher on many folk seminars in Macedonia, but also abroad as a cooperator with Goran Alački, but also with many other musicians. What is also interesting that Bajsa was she still cooperating with many famous folk musicians in Macedonia. So many musicians were influenced by her, according to their words. They were also influenced by her, because they were already matured musicians, but with her collaborating, that was another experience, as they witnessed. And Bajsa is creating.
Sorry, the last 5 minutes, please.
The last 5 minutes, yeah, okay. So this is just, I want to share pictures with you of Bajsa, and then make a conclusion. I'm sorry. So this is Bajsa playing on a violin. She plays 15 instruments, different kinds of instruments. So all the traditional instruments: bagpipe, kaval, šupelka, tambura, tapan, zurla. Then she plays saxophone, clarinet, violin, accordion. She piano. She's really multitasking. She's a person. You see, she's the drum here. This is one. A set of pictures from one concert where she changed clarinet, and then tambura, and then bagpipe, and then kaval. So here, there she is with her drum. This is one. This is the cover of her latest CD, where she's playing bagpipe, and this is her also performing on a world stage kaval. And this is her favorite picture, as she said, with violin, because violin was her and that she started to seriously and professionally perform. So what is very interesting with Bajsa is, I don't have time to play any musical examples, but today Bajsa is, when I just discussed with her about different kind of discrimination, did she feel any discrimination? And often asking her about, why do you hide your sexuality and your beauty, because she is a very beautiful girl. What she told me once is that she had to earn to go to school, because her parents didn't have any money. Her mother wasn't able to provide her to go to school. So at the age of 15, at the age of 14, actually, she started to play in kafana so she can earn money. And she told me, it is difficult to be a Roma girl and to play violin with in kafana, where all the men goes. And she was very young there then, and so she had to hide herself most of the time, not to acknowledge her sexuality, her femininity. And that left a mark on her future development, because still, that is why I wanted for you to see the pictures. She's still present she's the only female member of the ensemble, of the folk ensemble, the musicians in the folk ensemble planets. And she's the only female member of the group, except when there is a singer, and then the singer is a girl, is a female. So she in her social life, she took care of her mother, who got divorced and then remarried in a much better position. She also took care of her stepbrother. She helped him finish high school and then faculty of music, and then have a family. But at the end, Bajsa is still single. She's not married. She's living alone. She has all the comfort and social security of the matter of financial and economic aspect. She's still playing in kafanas, but just for her pleasure, because she really loves music. And she is a role model for many Roma girls in Macedonia, but also for many musicians who come from social discriminated families in some way. So she is also helping raising awareness a lot in the Roma community about the importance that girls can accomplish anything that they want, because she is giving an excellent example. Yet the price that she's still paying for that is another topic, is another issue, and very sensitive issue that she's also aware of. But sometimes she said, having my music, that sacrifice was worth it. So I think I don't have any time, and I'm sorry that I cannot play any musical examples to see her virtuosity, because she's really a unique, she has a unique musicality, unique talent that every instrument she touches, she masters. And when we talk, for example, when she calls me on the phone, usually first she will play to me for 1 minute on the instrument that she's playing at the time. is it a clarinet or caval or bagpipe? So that is the way how we communicate even today. So thank you very much. I hope that I gave you just a peek on the importance of Bajsa Arifovska in the Macedonian society. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear Velika. Could you share Bajsa's performance video if you have from YouTube?
Yes, I will be glad if I can do that.
Yes.
I don't know which one, but let me start with this one because I can.
Maybe you can share the link in the
link, yeah,
message box.
I will just here she's playing caval. I don't know if it's okay the sound.
No.
This is with Dragan Dautovski Quartet. World music.
Unfortunately, we cannot.
I'm sorry. Yes, I will send the link in the chat room so you can.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Yes, thank you.
Could you stop your share screen?
Yes. Okay.
Thank you very much. And second presentation made by Ioana Balbaki. My pronunciation, your name is correct or not?
Yes, it's perfect. Ioana Balbaki.
Ioana Balbaki. Thank you very much. I want to say about something for Ioana. About Ioana. Ioana Balbaki is a musicologist, violinist, and artistic manager. Born in Cluj-Napoca, in the heart of Transylvania, Romania, she studied at Dima Music Academy in her hometown, holding a double degree in musicology and violin, and PhD in musicology. During her master and PhD studies, she focused mainly on traditional Arabic music and the theory of music in Arabic writings of the 10th and 11th century. After working for a decade in the field of artistic management as the head of artistic department of the Dima Music Academy, she followed an academic career as lecturer, PhD of History of Music at University of Arts, Tirgumures. Since then, she started several research projects focusing mainly on the 20th century and contemporary music, giving a special emphasis to the use of folklore by the post-Bartok generation, but continuing also her early research in the field of Arabic music. In 1919, she was a scholar of Paul Sakar Stiftung, which allowed her to research the Sandor Veres Fund and his research on folk music. In Turkish, Ioana Balbaki, müzikolog, keman icracısı ve sanat yönetmeni. Romanya'nın Transilvanya bölgesinde, Romanya'da, Cluj-Napoca'da doğmuş. Ve memleketinde yer alan Dima Müzik Akademisi'nde hem müzikolojide hem keman üzerinde çift diploma sahibi. Yüksek lisans ve doktora çalışmalarında özellikle Arap müziği ve 10. ve 11. yüzyıl Arap yazılarındaki müzik teorisine, el yazmalarındaki müzik teorisine odaklandı. Sanat yönetimi alanında 10 yıl çalıştı. Sonra aynı akademide sanat bölüm başkanı olarak görev yaptı Dima Müzik Akademisi'nde. Tirgumures Üniversitesi'nde müzik tarihi bölümünde yine görev aldı. Daha sonra 20. yüzyıl ve çağdaş müziğe odaklandı ve Bartok sonrası nesil tarafından inşa edilen folklor kullanımına özel bir vurgu yapan çalışmaları devam etti ama Arap müziği alanında araştırmalarına devam etti. Ve şimdi Ioana Balbaki'yi dinleyeceğiz.
Yes, I will prepare now my presentation.
Please.
Thank you for the presentation you just spoke, and congratulations for this wonderful symposium which you prepared, and for this topic which is celebrating women. It was for me a great opportunity to first to think about and then to prepare a work on one of the most important ethnomusicologists from Romania. Oftenly we hear and we talk about Bartók, of course, about Brăiloiu and about male ethnomusicologists, but rarely we acknowledge that actually ethnomusicology is a research domain in which it doesn't matter the gender which you have. And in Romania, for example, there are a lot of women ethnomusicologists that created a great school of research, one of which I will present today. So I will discuss about Emilia Comichel and her contribution to Romanian ethnomusicology. Emilia Comichel was called by her contemporaries the great lady of Romanian folklore. Born in a family of musicians in 1913, she was able to start practicing violin and piano in her home, being helped by her father, who was at that time a respected choir conductor and violinist in Pitești, a city close to Bucharest. In her parents' house, she also learned the first traditional songs and the first traditional fiddle songs played on violin, which helped her to start loving the folklore, preparing her for her future life and research. Between 1933 and 1937, she attended the courses of Royal Conservatory of Music in Bucharest, where she was mentored. She had the opportunity and the luck to be mentored by some of the most important Romanian musicians at that time, among them being also the folklorist and composer Constantin Brăiloiu, who strongly marked her professional path. With Constantin Brăiloiu, she would study at the beginning history of music and aesthetics, but later also folklore. At that time, in 1933, this subject was only an optional course, although the collection and research of national folklore had become, since the beginning of the 20th century, one of the main concerns of Romanian composers and theorists, who were aware of the importance of knowing and understanding the traditional music in order to use as a source of inspiration in classical composition. So folklore was a common interest in field research, but was not a common course in the university studies. In 1933, Brăiloiu was in search of young collaborators for the folklore archive of the Romanian Composers Society from Bucharest. Therefore, he invited Emilia Comichel from the first year of her studies to work as a volunteer in this archive. Therefore, she was able to participate together with other colleagues in the folklore collection campaign undertaken in different regions of Romania with her mentor, Constantin Brăiloiu. In order to enrich her studies and acquire new methods of field research, she attended courses of the Faculty of Sociology of the University of Bucharest during 1942 and 43, taking part in expedition organized by the sociologist Dimitrie Gusti, an important name in Romanian culture, who was famous for his modern approach in studying village life. Becoming a permanent researcher in 1935 with the Folklore Archive of the Romanian Composer Society in Bucharest, Emilia Comichel will witness the transformation that took part within this research center, which in 1949 will become part of the Folklore Institute of Bucharest, and since 1990 the Institute of Ethnography and Folklore, called Constantin Brăiloiu, under the Romanian Academy. Between 1967 and 1974, she held the position of principal researcher at the Institute of Southeastern European Studies in Bucharest. In parallel with her research activity, Emilia Comichel also followed the path of her mentor in the pedagogical direction, becoming a teacher at the Bucharest Conservatory in 1949 and teaching folklore until her retirement in 1976. After retirement, she remained active in the field of research, publishing an important number of volumes, which we'll discuss below, the last being published in 2009, just a year before her death at 97 years old. But one cannot discuss about the ethnomusicologist Emilia Comichel without briefly sketching the personality of her mentor, Constantin Brăiloiu, who stood as her academic and pedagogical model, but also a continuous source of inspiration and research topic until the end of Emilia Comichel's life. Constantin Brăiloiu was trained abroad in Switzerland and France, in Paris, but returned in Romania in 1919 to be hired just 2 years later as a full professor at the Royal Conservatory of Music in Bucharest, being responsible at the beginning for teaching history of music and aesthetics. In 1927, he collaborated with the sociological school led by Dimitrie Gusti, which I mentioned before, with whom he participated in research campaigns in Romanian villages, being responsible mainly for collection and research of the musical creation. In 1929, he became the director of the Folklore Archive, and in 1930, he created an optional folklore course at the Royal Conservatory in order to train further collaborators within his archive. Since 1931, he has been supporting folklore collection campaigns with his students, laying the foundation for a new working method that has become a model for all his students. In 1944, he was employed at the Romanian embassy in Berna, Switzerland, but he also became at the same year the director of the International Archive in Geneva. From Switzerland, he would lead this prestigious institution till the end of his life in 1958, and will never return to Romania due to the limitation of the communist regime. In Geneva, he will collect and organize one of the most, he will organize one of the most richest archive in the world, mainly around 3,000 recordings, some of which were published in the 40-disc series entitled Collection Universelle de Musique Populaire Enregistrée, a collection edited and published between 1951 and 1958, his year of death. So,
Sorry, Iona.
yes.
Last 3 minutes.
Last 3 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. Constantin Brăiloiu opened for Emilia Comichel some directions of research, and here you can see the main 4 topics which Emilia Comichel developed during her research life. The first of them being the collecting and following the path of Constantin Brăiloiu, following the path of Bela Bartok's research in the Pădureni land, an area, a mountain area between Transylvania and Banat, where Bartok's collected music from Romanians in 1913, and where Emilia Comichel thought of going back in 1950 to see which of the songs remained, which of the music remained, and what is new in the region. So for 4 years, between 1950 and 1954, Emilia Comichel, with another group of researchers, collected songs from the villages visited by Bartok, but also other villages, and published first a study called Following Bela Bartok's in Pădureni land, and then an anthology of music, of folklore from Pădureni land, an anthology consisting of 144 songs, and of course also an important research study. Her second important direction in research and publishes it's the pedagogical works. Being the main teacher of folklore music in Bucharest, she was obliged to prepare her materials for the classes, materials which came out as a book in 1967 after 18 years of experience, a book which till today consists of one of the most important books of presenting the typology of Romanian music. As you can see on the desktop, the book is structured in 5 sections. Also a morphological part, but also of one part presenting the structures of songs and also the instruments. I discussed a lot about Constantin Brăiloiu's related with Emilia Comichel because Emilia Comichel was the editor of Constantin Brăiloiu's legacy. During 1966 and 2009, Emilia Comichel edited 8 volumes of Brăiloiu's studies and correspondence under the title Opere in Romanian and Œuvre in French. The work is published bilingual in Romanian and French language. Also, to his teacher, she dedicated a monograph book published in 1996 called Constantin Brăiloiu's Monograph, and a book realized in a collaboration with another Romanian researcher, Francis Laszlo, that presents the collaboration between Constantin Brăiloiu and the Hungarian School of Ethnomusicology. Her last folkloric research is the book on children's folklore, an anthology of songs and lyrics used by children in their plays and in their during their activities. The anthology was published in 1982 and consists of 257 songs and 500 lyrics. In total, Emilia Comichel collected during her life around 8,000 songs, which she also transcribed. From this immense number of works, only around 1,000 were published. The rest remained still in her personal archive that today is organized by her daughter Irina Dragnea, an important musicologist and ethnomusicologist, a Romanian ethnomusicologist. I wanted also to present the voice and a short song by that Emilia Comichel collected, just 20 seconds. It's a video with pictures and traditional folk songs that was organized by Emilia Comichel's daughter. At the beginning, you can hear Emilia Comichel's voice while recording traditional instrumental song in Transylvania region.
Glumă, din noaptea, suntem în 5 septembrie 1981, un joc din comună ardeleană de întors.
Okay. Thank you very much. I will close my...
Thank you, Iona.
And I'm here, back here.
Okay, thank you very much. And the third presenter from Romania, Andra Patraș. She's a lecturer at the National Academy of Music, Cluj-Napoca. She studied musicology and for her doctoral studies chose the field of ethnomusicology. And she has participated in the actions of collecting musical culture from the area. Andra Patraș Romanya'dan bir katılımcımız ve kendisi Cluj-Napoca'da Ulusal Müzik Akademisi'nde öğretim görevlisi. Müzikoloji okuyor fakat doktora da etnomüzikoloji alanını seçiyor. Ve de birçok derleme çalışmasında, saha çalışmasında da birçok proje içerisinde katılıyor, yer alıyor. Şimdi ben Andra Patraș'ın videosunu buradan paylaşacağım. Çünkü her olası bir ihtimale, aksiliğe karşılık videosunu yolladı bize. Evet, şimdi tam ekran yapacağız. Pardon, ben önce kendi sesimi bir kapatayım. Kapatamam tabii ki. Evet. Tamam. Evet, şöyle yapalım. Evet.
Good afternoon. I'm happy to take part in the Woman Play Sing the Earth Music and Women Symposium, organized by Association of Ethnomusicology, and I want to thank you for accepting my paper. I will share my screen now. The current presentation aimed to depict the work of Ileana Senic. Her books and articles legacy represent true models of ethnomusicology research. She was one of the most prolific researchers in ethnomusicology in Romania and also a professor at the Gheorghe Dima Music Academy in Cluj and researcher at the Folklore Institute in the same town. Her professional life was dedicated to collecting music from the field, to researching musical folklore, and to educating. I've structured my presentation in two sections. One consists in a brief view of Ileana Senic's professional activity, and the second one includes a presentation of one of her most important works, which is Traditional Carol in Transylvania, Musical Typological Catalog. The motivation that I had for choosing this subject has a personal foundation of deep admiration for Ileana Senic, because I was privileged to know her in person. She was not my teacher. When I became a student at the Gheorghe Dima Academy of Music in Cluj, she was already retired. But I had a chance to work with her in some research team. For example, here we have a photo that was taken in 2009 in a research work period. She was all the time open to have conversations with people from young generations that showed interest in musical folklore. That's why the perspective of this presentation will be based on one hand on written sources, and on the other hand we'll have a subjective approach because I have my own memories about her human side. Before presenting her work from volumes Traditional Carol in Transylvania, I would like to briefly portray some aspects about her career path. She lived between 1927 and 2019, and she lived in Cluj-Napoca, or near Cluj-Napoca, that is a city situated in the heart of Transylvania, Romania, where she did her studies and where she started to work as a teacher and a researcher in the ethnomusicology field. Speaking about her career, we can divide it in three sections: pedagogical activity, field researcher, and writer of significant scientific research articles and studies. About how she ended up dedicating her life to folkloric music, I would like to read a quote of her. "Folk music was attracted me a lot. I read everything I found from Bartók and Kadın. I was fascinated by this wonderful world that I didn't know at all." It's from an interview that is published in the Ethnomusicological collection of Ileana Senic. As an educator, she started her teaching career in 1950 when she was still a student. After graduating from the Music Academy, she was appointed as an assistant lecturer. One of her big contributions is that she wrote a course book for students, which is still used today in the Music Academy in Cluj. In 1990, she was asked to be a consultant professor for the doctoral committee. She fully retired from the university chair in 2012 at the age of 85. Another important aspect of her educational career is about being a doctoral coordinator. Between 1994 and 2009, she was the scientific coordinator of 18 doctoral students that ended successfully the process of researching for their doctoral thesis. Music Academy of Cluj honored her in 2008 with the title of Doctor Honoris Causa. Ileana Senic began her career as a traditional music collector when she was still a student. From 60 to 80s, she led the collecting activity of the Music Academy students, directed towards less explored settlements of Transylvania and Moldavia. During her more than 3 decades of activity as a traditional music collector, she enriched the archives that I mentioned before with more than 5,000 songs, folk songs. She made sound recordings and transcriptions from 94 villages. Out of the large number of melodies, only a small part has been published so far in various Romanian and Hungarian publications. The fact that all these songs, sounds, recordings, and transcriptions are freely offered in the book, the Ethnomusicological Collection of Ilona Senic, is a great value to the scientific community. She used to research the both Hungarian and Romanian folk music with equal interest. This is highlighted by her own collections as well as her studies in comparative musicology, where she discussed topics of melodic typology, rhythm issues, and form theory. 19 of her studies are held in the 3 volumes of Ethnomusicology studies. These studies represent an essential contribution to the analyzed methods, classification, principles of systematization, and about the principle of structuring in folkloric songs. The studies cover a period of about 40 years of scientific observation. We intend to present one of her most important works, which is Traditional Carol in Transylvania Musical Typological Catalog. The volumes have 2 authors, Ioan Bocșa, which was the coordinator of the project, and Ileana Senic, which was responsible for musical typological classification. Ioan Bocșa is also a professor at the Gheorghe Dima Music Academy, and the collaboration between the 2 authors began when she coordinated his doctoral thesis. After that, they created a team of researchers and embarked on a research journey that had a lot of beautiful results. And here we have 3 titles of books where they worked together. The Musical Typological Catalog is a bilingual book, Romanian and English, that includes carol melodies that were collected starting with the beginning of the 20th century. The volumes have as an attachment a documentary DVD that offers a synchronic and diachronic view of genre. The catalog has melodies from 3 important sources. Approximately 205,000 carols that were collected by teams coordinated by both authors in the field in a period of 13 years. Carols that were published in the most important collections of previous author, starting from the beginning of 20th century, and also materials which exist in the sound archives that I mentioned before in the Gheorghe Dima Music Academy archives and Folklore Archive Institute in Cluj. In total, the 2 volumes contain approximately 5,500 melodies arranged according to the musical criteria. Ileana Senic's work was to complete and to perfect the system of musical typological classification for the entire musical material. The new organization of the carols gives 216 melodic types. The system generated 7 categories of melodies that are called supergroups. In each supergroup, based on the model of general profile, we have groups and subgroups. All the songs from the catalogs has been noted in a unitary way according to the relative transposition convention. I would like to offer an audio example to show the way we can find a song in the classification. Here we have a carol that is situated in the 5th supergroup. Some conclusions. If we are doing a comparison between the topics that she researched and the topics that her doctoral students worked on, we can clearly see that there are some differences. That means that this was a good context for her to accumulate new knowledge. She once said, "I had never studied instrumental music in my researches, but I had the opportunity to enter in this new area due to the researches that my students did." The catalog offers a model for the researcher which can be applied for other materials, musical materials, to find out about some stylistic typologies referring to a region or a genre. And about Iliana Senik, many of us have been able to learn from her about the tricks and traps of field investigations to appropriate the rules of scientific thinking and the methods of professional research. Her work was very appreciated in all aspects. We can summarize in one sentence that she created a school of research with solid principles. Thank you for your attention.
Yes, thank you, Andra. Thank you very much. Thanks to Andra and Ioana, we recognized two important women from Romanian ethnomusicologists, and it's very important. I like very much indeed. And fourth presenter. Okay. Yeah, Karin. Karin Bindu. Karin Bindu. Evet, Karin Bindu ile ilgili önce bir bilgi vermek isterim size. Hem müzik performansı hem müzik eğitimi alanlarında çalışıyor. Aynı zamanda bir perküsyonist ve de sosyal antropoloji ve kültürel antropoloji üzerine de çalışmaları mevcut. Ve Hindistan etnolojisine giriş gibi, kültürel antropoloji gibi dersleri vermiş bir dönem Viyana Üniversitesi Müzik Bölümünde. Özellikle de Güney Hindistan'daki Karnatak müziği ile ilgili dersler, o konular üzerinde hakimiyeti var. Aynı zamanda da 1991'den beri Hindistan, Trinidad, Küba, Orta Doğu, Avrupa ve Batı Afrika'da çeşitli müzikal katmanlarla ilgili ve müzik ritimleriyle ilgili ve bunların kültürel geçmişi hakkında araştırmalar yapmakta. Ve de aynı zamanda bu yaptığı araştırmaları da müzik pratiğine aktarmakta. Aynı zamanda davul dersleri de veriyor kendisi. Karim Bindu works part-time as percussionist and as cultural and social anthropologist in the field of education, music performance and culture. As senior lecturer, she was teaching an introduction into ethnology of India at the Department of Social and Cultural Anthropology, as well as theory praxis of South Indian talas in Carnatic music at the Department of Music Science, University of Vienna. Since 1991, she has been researching about musical rhythms and their cultural background in different cultures: India, Trinidad, Cuba, Middle East, Europe, and West Africa. She integrates her knowledge into drumming lessons as well as musical practice and presents it in lectures and written articles. Her dissertation entitled Percussion Art Forms, Aspect of the Production and Communication of South Indian Talas in the Katiyatam, appeared in 2013. Lidberlag Mühen, Vienna. As percussionist, she performs with the female groups Latin Music Trio, Trio Vasika, and Rhythm Sisters Unlocked. And Karim Bindu will present for us in the title Lane Redmond's Legacy, Digital Handprints of Female Frame Drummers. Welcome, Karim.
Thank you very much. Sorry for my delay before. I just came back from a business trip, and so I'm a little bit late. So I tried to open the presentation. So I have to make the full screen.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Auswählen. Guten Mit. Erlauben. Yes, I have to allow.
Yeah.
So, do you see it?
Yes. And could you turn slideshow? Yes. Thank you very much.
Now it should be, you should have it.
Yes.
So, thanks for welcoming me and for having accepted my presentation for today. As I told, or I will tell you, this is some kind of a new project for me to research about Lane Redmond's legacy, digital handprints of female frame drummers.
I'm so sorry, Kindu. Could you close Gaba abandoned signal?
Okay.
Thank you. No, again.
Again?
No. Please click on PowerPoint slide.
Okay. Can you see it?
No.
No. Okay, that is not good. Let me try one more time. So I have to go to present. Maybe one window. Fenster ausschauen erlauben. Oh, I cannot allow it. That's the strange thing. But if I have to go to full screen.
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So
Yes.
the screen will be here.
Yeah.
Can you see it?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Now again, we start the presentation from the beginning. Can you see it?
Yes.
Yes. Very good. Okay. So ambition and passion for drumming. Playing drum sets since 1985, so that's quite a long time in self-education, and sometimes I have studied cultural anthropology with my mentor, who unfortunately died many years before, after the finishing of my dissertation. Dr. Kremser Manfred, who researched a lot about drumming and rituals in African and Caribbean societies, and also in the context of shamanism. So he was our institute shaman, but unfortunately he died, and all his research topics disappeared from our institute. Then I had some experience by frame drumming for trance positions, who have been researched by Felicitas Goodman. And I'm also practicing Indian drums since 1991, tablas and mridangam, as you see here, the tablas, the small ones, and the huge mridangam. So these instruments are also included into my music praxis. And since 1996, I'm empowering female musicians by founding female music groups. So we are doing performances in Austria and few also abroad. And so all groups are based on percussion instruments, and some are including vocals and other instruments as well, such as flute and sometimes violin. I'm a teacher for drumming on djembe drums since 2000 and frame drums since 2015. And on the pictures here in the edge on the left side, you see one of my drumming groups. I'm teaching them since more than 10 years. And on the right side, you see my world music trio with a saxophonist and pianist. So just to give you a short impression, this was my field research. I was researching about this special drum in the middle, in the picture in the middle, the mirau. So this is one of my huge research topics. And as you told in the beginning, I wrote my dissertation about it in German language, unfortunately. So I should have done it in English. And yes, I have done field research in South India as well as in Trinidad. And what brought me to Lane Redmond? Lane Redmond, she was, because she unfortunately died in 2013, she was a frame drummer who dedicated her life in researching the spiritual history of female drumming in the Middle East and Southern Europe. And she was also teaching a lot of female groups to play frame drums. She reconstructed by researching images found in museums and books worldwide, which show statues, carvings, and paintings of frame drumming women. I will show you an interview done, part of an interview, which can be found on YouTube, where she is explaining about the way how she created these new groups, the Mob of Angels, who are performing new rituals. Her book is really a perfect story about the spiritual history of drumming women, where she shows how the function, the role of the drumming women who have been goddesses and priestesses and who have done prophecies, how their role got more and more depressed by the Christians and the patriarchic systems until their total disappearance in the 5th century after Christ. So this is a very interesting story, and her book has been published and translated into many languages. I want to show you now this part of the interview. I hope it will work. Yeah.
Within a couple of years,
I was performing and recording one. And eventually I started to talk about the ancient history of the brain drummers at the end of our concert. And many women would come up to me afterwards and ask if I would teach them. So quite quickly, I found that I had 50 students a week, and it was a very exciting time. And out of these students, I formed a group called the Mob Angels. And we did ritual concerts on the solstices and the equinoxes. We would redo rituals like Valentine's Day by reading ancient poems of Inanas. It really became quite a phenomenon, and we had a very large following in Manhattan. People kept going, should be in California. But it was a very potent and powerful time. And as people, particularly women, but as people saw a group of women drumming, it just attracted more and more and more women to the brain drum. I started studying with Glenn. He had collected about 200 slides of the ancient frame drummers from the Mediterranean world. This is the world's oldest known drum, and a frame drum is a drum that is much wider than the depth of its shell. And all over the world, we find frame drums. It's like an archetypal idea. People everywhere come up with the idea to make a drum like this. What I noticed in his slide collection was that almost all of the drummers were women. And this is from about 5600 BC in what is now Turkey to about 400 Common Era. And I thought, well, what was going on that all the drummers were women in the ancient world? So I started to research these images that we had collected and tried to figure out who these women were. And it turns out a lot of them were goddesses
or priests, as I told before. And so I told you she died, but Elaine Redmond is still the most famous female frame drummer and researcher that we know. And I checked in Facebook groups about her legacy. That means I have found two groups who are related to her work and her drumming. The first group is called Elaine Redmond's Global Friends and Fans. It's a public group consisting of 714 members. So I went through 235 of the members, so just checked in the first view what kind of occupation they have. And the second group is called When the Drummers Are Women. It's also a public group, consists of 2,500 members. And from that group, I analyzed 175 people in a first impression. It is a network of not only frame drummers, but also drum set players and drummers from all over the world with all different drums, founded by Ubaka Hill in April 2014.
Excuse me,
yeah.
Carrie. The last
Yeah.
5 minutes. The last 5.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. And what I found out, so there are 9 different categories under which the occupations of the followers could be divided. So there are people who are more occupied with cults and rituals for goddesses. Then other members, they're occupied with female kind of self-discovery in mystery rituals. Then a very huge group are people, members who are occupied with healing methods, not only for humans, but also for the earth in general. So they have also a spiritual component in their occupations. And the biggest group, of course, are the musicians themselves and drumming teachers. Then there's a small community occupied with shamanism. There's a larger community occupied with drum circles and new rituals, which are also including male persons, not only females. And there's also a category of creativity and transformation. So this category is also including all kind of theater artists and fashion makers, producers of pottery, of oils, and different paraphernalia which are connected to drumming. And there's a very small community about research about drumming, and one last category of entrepreneurs, business ladies who are selling instruments and other articles. So what I did, I showed in these 9 categories. In the first line, you see the group 1, so the global friends and fans of Lane Redmond. How many percent are fitting into which category? As I told before, musicians is the hugest category in both groups, also in the female drummer groups. And generally, there are only a few differences, which I will just give a short overview. So generally, of course, there are more people occupied with cults and rituals for goddesses in Lane Redmond's follower group, and also more mystery researchers. And interestingly, the more creativity and transformation members are active in the second group, which of course is is larger than the first one. What I'm doing now, I'm preparing different kinds of methods based on art-based research, ethnomusicology, social research, digital research, music and gender theories and methods. And my next steps will be to contact members. I have written down certain names of the groups, ask permission for research. So there are a lot of ethical questions, of course, going on if you do online research. Then I want to upload my own drumming and research into the groups. I have to define methods for archiving, fix the theoretical frame, and prepare and conduct online interviews. And so the general aim is to make a grant admission, and also to travel. Hopefully next year it will be possible to do also offline research and not only online research. And as I told you in the beginning, I'm active myself. That means I have founded a new female drumming group recently during the lockdown period. That's why we also call ourselves Rhythm Sisters Unlocked. And here you see us in our last action in the Belvedere Gardens of Vienna, where you can find statues of the 9 muses. And we gathered at the Muse Terpsichore, the muse of dance, which was constructed here in the 18th century by Giovanni Stanetti. And we gathered there and we played some rhythms with her. And so we tried to get active in different places all over Vienna to reactivate female power in near statues and of women. This is a music impression. Thank you very much for attention. I listed some literature I have collected in the last years. So I'm collecting articles from different online platforms. Yes, and I'm looking forward. I'm open for your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Karen. I think your next plan is perceived as an invitation from our guests, because I know there are some well-known percussionists in our guests. I know. Maybe. Thank you very much.
Very good, very good. I hope so. I'm ready to come.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we recognize very important women figures in as musicians, as researchers, as performers, and from a different cultural area. It was interesting, and maybe our guest ask a question. Yes, Feyzan Göher. Buyurun hocam.
Teşekkür ederim hocam. Thank you for a beautiful presentation. Bindu, I have a question for you. I would like to ask a question not related to your presentation, but related to your study topics. As you know, in Indian miniatures and Indian pictures, we often see the veena instrument in the hand of goddess Saraswati. You know that. And I would like to say that I admire of Indian music, and I like a little one, veena, in my music instrument collection. Has the situation associated with myths caused a feminine identity to be attributed to the veena instrument today?
Yeah, you can say, I mean, the veena is one of the oldest instruments. And you can say really since a very long time, maybe 2000 years, the veena is associated to Saraswati. And of course, this affects the music world in India. So there will be lots of women playing veena, especially in South India, where I researched. In North India, you find more the sitar as some more developed version of veena. And sitar players are more male, so there are not so many female sitar players as veena players in South India, for example.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Any other questions of somebody?
Hocam, eğer başka soru yoksa ben bir soru daha sorabilir miyim? Özlem hocam. Tamam. I have a question for Lika Staikova. First of all, I would like to say that my mother is a Macedonian immigrant from Veles. We say Köprülü in Turkish, and I have many Macedonian friends, especially in Stip. Greetings to all. While I was working in Macedonia, I came across tapan and zurla performances at weddings. As you mentioned, these music instruments are usually performed by men, like davul zurna in Turkey, of course. Have you noticed the female performers as a duo for tapan and zurla?
Yes, thank you, Feyzan, for your question, and I'm glad that you have a Macedonian roots from Macedonia. Yes, regarding the tapan and zurna or zurla, you say davul and zurla, we say tapan and zurla.
Yes.
It is considered to be very traditionally male
Yes.
instrument. So I haven't encountered and haven't met any traditional woman plays zurla. Regarding the tapan, the davul, yes, recently there are. It is becoming like interesting for female musicians as well, but it's very rare, extremely rare case, especially in the field work in the rural areas. It is very rare, except in these cultural societies like folk groups. There you can also find some, we say, jambaz girl, you know, some more advanced girl, more brave girl who would also play tapan drum.
Okay.
So it's a very rare. So usually it's in traditional custom, in traditional way. Only male play zurla and davul. And what is also interesting is that it is in Macedonia. It is also considered to be more Romani instruments. Roma players were playing those instruments, but also Turkish, Albanian, Macedonian, all of them. And so that is why, for example, Baisa is because she is also playing zurla, and she is also playing drums, and she plays 15 instruments, as I explained. She's also a very rare case that plays, and especially for zurla, it is considered to be a very strict taboo.
Yes.
These zurnas are also found in many frescoes from 9th century, from 10th century, from the medieval period, where the zurnas are presented as the instruments from the hell, from the not like the tabal is the divine instrument, and the zurna is instrument that is more like for the common people. Yeah, so that is why this is still in traditional way. It is still very rare. It's still a taboo, and even in the high school, in musical high school, in the Faculty of Music Academy, where there is a department of folk instruments, I haven't met any, and I don't know about any girl who is playing, female who is playing zurla.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Canım hocam sesiniz kapalı.
We cannot hear you.
I'm so sorry. Thank you very much, Velika. And also thank you for your sharing link. And one more question for Velika from Belma Oğul. Are there any connections between Baisa and Esma Recepova?
Thank you, Belma. And best regards to all of my dear friends from Turkey. They're not relatives. They're not connected in any way in that. And also, if you mean by the is because Esma was very well known by helping young Roma girls, especially. She has adopted, I don't know, more than 30 children. She has raised them because she didn't have her own child, so that is why she was adopting a lot of children and taking care of them. But Baisa was not among them. She actually went through all this path of earning money for studying, for going to school by herself. She of course met Esma, and they were cooperated. Baisa was playing on her concerts once or twice, but they didn't have any that kind of relation, like personal relation. But of course, they were both brave fighters for Roma rights, especially female Roma rights in Macedonia.
Thank you. Burada görüyorum. Arzu hocam el kaldırmış olarak görünüyorsunuz. Burada mısınız? Arzu Öztürkmen. Galiba. One more question to Karin from Dilar Özer. She's a percussionist, I know. Frame drumming is getting popular among women, both in professional and amateur level, how could you interpret this tendency among women?
I think that nowadays women they have much more possibilities to be present in the public sphere, also on social media. That means they have more possibilities to promote themselves. And if you watch in the internet, you watch groups, you see women playing, then this will be an inspiration for other women, as we have seen in Lane Redmond's film, where she told about this kind of chain reaction. If people saw women playing together, then other women came and they wanted to do the same. So I think that's about according to social media and YouTube, there's more possibility to watch videos. And I have seen also videos where the women especially, they motivate other women to drum. They motivate to drum, and the frame drum is a very easy drum. That means it sounds nice. It is not so difficult to learn. It is not difficult to carry. It has a very light weight. It's not like if you play djembe or congas or drum set, you have to carry lots of weight with you. But the frame drum is really light and has so many traditions in all countries. So I think this is there are many reasons why it's getting more and more promoted nowadays. But still, I mean, at least in Austria, I don't know any official possibilities where you can learn it. That means our music academies and universities, they don't include the frame drums in the curriculum. That means the teaching methods are still on an unofficial level. So I think maybe this will change in some years when we can push it forward into that direction.
Thank you very much. One more question for Ioana Balbaki from Mehmet Söylemez. I want to ask to Ioana Balbaki, in Greece, Melpo Melier, founder of the Center for Asia Minor Studies, lived at the same time as Emilia Comichel, as I understand it. Could there be any communication between them or any Greek researcher? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Unfortunately, the monography of Emilia Comichel is not yet published, and nor the correspondence between her and international ethnomusicologists. She prepared the correspondence of Brăiloiu, but nobody prepared her own correspondence. There is a possibility she was in touch with Greek researchers because she was a member of this East European ethnographic society from Romania, and also she attended a lot of symposiums in Europe, especially in East Europe, sorry. But I do not know any name of the researchers which she personally knew.
Okay, thank you, Ioana.
Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you very much for all presenter, and see you soon and face to face in Turkey. I hope in Bursa in the next time. And thank you very much for all guests at the same time. And we will watch 5 or 10 minutes later frame drummer from traditional life from Sparta, Asian side in Turkey, and this recording from Filsberg made by Emre Dayıoğlu for the Symposium. So we will watch their performance on frame drum. but on YouTube page, Ethnomusicology Association's YouTube page. Thank you very much. Kindly attendance. I hope healthy and beautiful dates for all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for
Thank you.
organizing all. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.